When I'm doing a creative project, this could be a writing project, directing, or even editing, I find that there's one thing that I have to do first, and then everything becomes easy. And normally this one little thing takes the longest time, and that is finding the right music. Once I find something's music, everything else seems to flow. So this episode is sort of dedicated to that process, and I can't believe I haven't really spoken about it until now. So, music has always been a huge part of my life. Ever since I was 5, I used to sing in competitions, in band stages, musical theatre, even operas. Music's always been a really big part of who I am. It's only, I don't know, there was sort of a point after I turned maybe 20, I think, where I started doing acting, screen acting, and then that became behind the camera. And I started dedicating to telling stories through film instead of telling stories through music. But I find, things never really leave you. Like, I cannot imagine making a film, writing a script, editing without music. Like, music for me is actually the backbone of anything creative that I do. I just think that's the way I work best. And so when it comes to music with this film, there are definitely some pieces of music already that I've found. Whether they're eventually going to be in the film itself or they're just going to help me with the writing process, for me, there are certain pieces of music that'll always be linked to this. And I'll talk a bit more about them in a sec. I just wanted to give a brief update on where the film's sitting and where everything is at. So first things first, we're at, January 9th? So I leave February 2nd, pretty much 3 weeks to go until this research journey starts. I'm waiting for one of the children to get back from a holiday, and then we're going to arrange a time for all 4 of us, I guess, the 3 children and me, to sign the agreement. Then once that agreement's signed, I'm pretty much ready to go. Script-wise, I wrote out on paper, maybe 3 or 4 scenes, and I got a little bit snagged. I really enjoyed the first scene, and then I'm not sure where to go. I think I'm going to have to just take a step back, and I just went to a cafe now and just wrote out the first scene into Final Draft, which is the application and the program that I use to edit, to script write. I'm going to trial a first draft with narration, and that'll be able to get me to move places a lot quicker and do things like that. And then further down the line, if I don't like the narration, I can pull that out later. So that's where I'm at the script. Now let's talk about the music. What's really cool I've found about this film so far is my mother and my grandparents listen to a lot of music of this time, so late 60s, early 70s. And it's actually a lot of what I grew up on, funnily enough. So things like Simon and Garfunkel are some of my favourite musicians, and the Seekers and Joni Mitchell, and it's a few songs of that actually resonate with some of the children as well. They spoke about a song that really was with them was Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. And the funny thing is, that song already I had on a little playlist. I have this playlist that I just have of all the songs that sort of get me in the mood to write the script. And and that's one of the songs for sure. It's way too high. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions. I recall, I really don't know life at all. So So what I like about that song and why I like it for this film is there are definitely some moments within the film which are emotional is the wrong word, which are at a point where the family's the most vulnerable. Like imagine trekking all this way, right, with the knowledge that they've potentially pushed on further than they've had to, or further than they should have. And this is something that might dawn on the father, especially for pushing them in for the sake of adventure. And then they finally get to England and the grandmothers died the day before they got there. Now imagine that feeling. There's heartache, there's pain, but there's also guilt, you know? And it teaches you a lot about life, I feel. And this song for me is the only song that I've ever heard that, okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but it's one of the songs that I've heard that really gets to me and makes me think about, one, I'm still really young, and two, there's a lot to learn in life, you know? And that's what this song does. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I really like this song. And the other one is A World of Our Own by the Seekers. Now, the words of this one are just so, I don't know, they're just so true to the feeling and the sentiment of it. Well, I'll give it a go. Close the door, light the light, we're staying home tonight, far away from the bustle and the bright city lights. Let them all fade away and leave us alone, and we'll leave in a world of our own. We'll build a world of our own that no one else can share. All our sorrows will leave far behind us there, and I know you will find there'll be peace of mind when we live in a world of our own. I mean, that's it. So a story about a family that secludes itself from the world and then goes out and tries to build a boat and sail it to England is all about adventure. It's all about, but it's their own family inclusion. Like they literally are building a world of their own. And that's why when I heard the words of this song, I just went, well, that song I would love to open the film with, you know? But you can see, as you can see, that music is definitely that huge part of this. And it's a huge part for me. And that's why I'll continue using music, even just putting it on and listening to it and playing. Nonetheless, music's a huge part of what I do. And yeah, 3 weeks to go until I go. We'll build a world of our own.